And I think we need to start with what happened last night at Busch Stadium. Where
what happened?
Well, here's the deal. First of all, I haven't really been down to Busch that much, media-wise.
Yeah, this is good. I like this.
And so I was there. I was there last night. It's good to see everybody. Good to see the media horde. And by the way, even though the game did not go very well, you may have heard, it was probably the greatest baseball night weather in August in St. Louis I can ever remember.
Pretty awesome.
Honest to God, I was there. I'm like, this is freaking perfect. It was about 73 degrees, 0 humidity. You could have been wearing shorts, long pants, T-shirt, maybe even a long sleeve T-shirt, and you would have been perfectly comfortable. Now, the man who wasn't so comfortable, especially in the first, that would be Jon Lester. I'd like to pat myself on the back, though, because I did accurately predict.
Get out of here.
I accurately predicted Jon Lester would not record a quality start. So, Charlie?
Everybody here was
Great job.
Right in some way. You're right. He did pitch more than 3 1/3, but Cam was right in the fact that he got rocked.
So here's the deal. I was the most wrong.
Got lit up
though.
like a Christmas tree.
I was the most wrong. Now, Jimmy Heuer, he accurately predicted not just that he'd allow a home run. Now, he had a couple because Freddie Freeman also hit one.
Yeah, he did.
In the second. But Jimmy Heuer, the first thing he said was Jorge Soler is going to hit a rocket off him. Now, I think it was 409 feet, but still.
It was a couple rows deep. It wasn't the longest home run like I predicted, but I did predict a home run, so I'll take some credit for that.
So Jim Heuer, correct with Jorge Soler. Cam Janssen said about 2 2/3. He did go 5, but Cam said he was going to get rocked.
He's going to get beat up, and that's exactly what happened.
And then, of course, myself, the eternal optimist, I'm now being called Frank Jr. I'm now being called Frank Jr. or Frank the Third. I did say, I said 5 2/3. I said 5 2/3.
Yeah.
So I was the closest in terms of actual innings pitched. I said 2 Ernies and 5 punchies. I think he struck out 4. He gave up a nice 6-piece, though.
Yeah, but you were being fluffy, dude. You were being like, no, I think that he's going to. And even when I said that, we said this
How am I being
before.
fluffy?
No, you're being fluffy a little bit because you're like, no, I think positive. He's going to be good. He's going to do this. And I'm like, no, he's not. And then even Jim, who's usually just so even keel, he's like, no, Charlie, you're wrong. And then once he said that, I'm like, oh, I know I'm good. And it exactly happened with Jimmy's. He got lit up, dude. They lost 6-1. Nothing you said happened. I don't care if he went long. They just gave him it. Like, oh, it's over anyway. There you go. And he was fine afterwards because he got tired. Just like when you light up a goalie, then the boys get tired and you don't score anymore, and he looks okay.
All right. Couple things on this. First of all, if you look at Jon Lester's game log this season, and let's be real, he has not been good.
No,
he entered this game with an ERA over 5, and now it's 5.38. And there's a ton of volatility in his outings. And I don't just say that like, okay, that's an obvious statement, because there are some pitchers who more times than not, they will give you a quality start-ish performance. You know what I'm saying? Well, there's less of, okay, that's a great outing, 6 innings, 0 runs, or 1 run. But then on the other end, it's a 7 spot. There are some pitchers who are more consistent in, hey, I'm going to give you 5 2/3 or 6 innings. I'm going to allow 2, 3, 4 runs. And most times out there, I'm going to give you a good chance to win. Jon Lester this year, if you look at his games, it is peaks and valleys. It's either 6 or 7 innings, 1 run or scoreless with 6 strikeouts, or it's what we saw last night, which was a laser light show.
Here's the one thing, the reason why they got him is he can get lit up, but he's still going to throw 5 to 6 innings. He's going to throw 100 pitches one way or another. Unlike Oviedo, who gets lit up and you go, I can't even get him out of the 3rd inning, man. We got to get somebody else in here. Then they're going to try the same thing with the guy tonight, and I don't think that's going to happen. But that's the thing with Lester, especially now that you have him for 2 months. You go, buddy, you got 100 pitches. I don't care how you get them, but you got 100 pitches tonight.
Okay, and remember, just so folks know, Lester entered with an ERA just over 5. Our guy Happ, JA Happ, who we also spoke with yesterday on the field, seems like a very nice guy. His ERA is approaching 7, though.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens there. I do think, Jim, you make an interesting point, and I was...
You're laughing.
No, here's why I'm laughing. Here's why I'm laughing.
Yeah.
It's the overall narrative of why the Cardinals picked up someone like Jon Lester. I just find this funny. Tell me if I'm wrong. Okay. look, you don't give a starting pitcher credit of eating innings when he gives up a 5 spot in the first, and then he gives up 6 runs. So my point is, if you don't care how many runs a pitcher allows, then of course they can eat more innings. And I'm laughing because, look,
it's the truth.
I know that Jon Lester is a horse. And you know what? For all that we're joking.
He's had a very great career.
Yes, and he's going to have some good outings. Yeah. He's going to have some. Look, that might be the worst outing he has for the Cardinals. All due respect. Seriously, that might be the case. But here's my point. When you say, oh, he's still 8 innings, he still gave us 5. No, that's not how this works. Because here's why. I was looking up John Gant's numbers, okay?
Yeah.
We all know John Gant had a great April. He had a great May. As a starter, he had a terrible June. They put him in the pen. He had a nice July in the pen before he was moved for JA Happ. But I'm looking at his game logs. The man never threw more than 99 pitches this year in any start. Okay? Most of his outings, 80, 85, 92 pitches. He never threw more than 99 pitches. Now, I'm not saying that he's Cy Young, but this man still has an ERA of about what? 3.6, 3.7. We're talking about John Gant.
Yep.
This is after an atrocious month of June where I believe his ERA was around 7. So my point is, John Gant could have been an innings eater if you didn't care if he allowed a few more runs. Right? I mean, John Gant, are you telling me you can't let John Gant throw 106 pitches? That he can't throw 99 pitches? That he can't throw 112? John Gant can give you an extra inning if you don't care about him giving up 5 runs.
It's 100% accurate. And I think part of that was in the time he was pitching, let's say May, they actually had a chance to win. Now, the chances of really winning and getting back in this race are slim, and they just need guys to eat the innings so they don't have to overexpose some of the other guys. The Oviedo is one. Woodruff just doesn't have it. He's not ready to start on an everyday basis. So you know what? You just go get a couple guys. You go, you got 100. Like I said, you got 100. See how far you can use them. You're right about Gant. Here's the one thing about Gant, too, that people got to remember or think about. He was eligible for arbitration next year, right? And you gave the numbers. A 3.4 ERA and a guy who's won 6 and in the previous year won 10 out of the bullpen, he's going to get paid in arbitration. He's going to win his numbers, and he's not that good. And I think that's part of why the Cardinals said, yeah, we got to move him because we've seen enough to know, like you said, we can't trust him to give him more innings because we know then he's going to get lit up like a Christmas tree. So I think that was part of the process of, if we're going to give up somebody, let's move Gant because we're not going to pay him the arbitration number he's going to get, rightfully so, based on his numbers. But the reality is he's not that good.
I totally understand that, and I totally agree with you. And guess what? After this season, they could have just not tendered him a contract.
That would have been a possibility.
And just so folks know, I'm not trying to speak to John Gant like he's the second coming. I'm speaking more to the narrative of, oh, Big Jon Lester, who I think, by the way, he's a stud in his career. We know he's older, and last night was bad. He's going to be better. I don't think we can do the innings eater when you give up 6 runs. And so, again, if you bring in a pitcher that has a 5 ERA and you send away a pitcher in another deal for JA Happ that has about a 3.7 ERA, well, guess what? John Gant with a 5 ERA eats a lot more innings. Because you let him throw another inning in a third and he gives up a run or two. That's all I'm saying.
No, I'm there with you.
It's just funny to me.
Oh, yeah, the irony and the craziness of the whole storyline is, and look, Jon Lester's a 3-time World Series champion. We are getting nothing like that Jon Lester. So it's not like I'm sitting here ripping a guy who's been a great pitcher. It's just the John Gant you're getting now, he's at the very, very end of what is his Major League Baseball career.
You are just hoping, though. You're hoping for that fresh start, for that change of scenery, right? Both those guys were on bad teams, the Twins more so than the Nationals, but still, you get to a point where you know the Nationals are going to trade everybody. The Twins basically traded everybody. You just wonder, veterans like that, they've been around, they get to Busch Stadium. As John Mozeliak said, it is a better pitcher's park. You get with the team that, although they're back in the standings, they still technically have a chance to win. You get with a Hall of Fame catcher like Yachty, and you just wonder, can there be that change of scenery? So on that note, should we do predictions also for Mr. Happ? Because now I feel like I have to totally redeem myself and say he's going to give up like 9 runs.
I can tell you right now, Adam Duvall is going to hit a home run tonight.
Well, Tyler O'Neill snagged one yesterday from him.
Yeah, he did. I think he'll get one tonight off Happ. Happ's just not. Look, Happ's numbers are worse than Lester's. Let's not kid ourselves.
But he can eat innings.
Man,
well,
are the
he'll
Cardinals
get
done or
100
not?
pitches.
That's the question, Charlie. I mean, what are the percentages here? Like, what are we doing? Are we chasing San Diego? How far away are
Here
the
we
Cardinals?
Go.
Come on.
Okay.
Like,
The Cardinals,
break
by
down
the way,
whatever the hell you want. Are they going to make the playoffs or not? You think?
No. The Cardinals really love being at 500. They don't really appreciate being over 500, and they don't like being below 500, which is good. But the 2021 Cardinals they feel right at home when they're right at 500. So 53 and 53. Every time that team gets one over, they just come right back. So Cam, to answer your question, they are 10 back in the Central still, and now they are 7.5 games back in the wild card. And that's where you are chasing the Padres, and the Padres are 15 games over. The Cardinals have a ton of work to do. You got Flaherty hopefully coming back. That's another interesting storyline, is we talked with Flaherty yesterday, and this happens. I'm not trying to say this is a big controversy, but clearly when we talked with Jack Flaherty and asking him questions, he thinks he's ready to pitch in the big leagues now. He thinks he's ready to come back, and the Cardinals are being cautious with their ace. Oh. And I also get that, because this is not a year where you're close to winning the World Series. And if I'm the Cardinals, I probably also err on the side of caution with Jack Flaherty.
It's the same storyline, just you're being cautious in terms of we're not using Oviedo because he needs a pitch down below. You're using Lester and telling him he's got 100 pitches because you really don't care. And with Flaherty, you go, we're not going to win this thing, so why risk our ace and anything that could possibly go wrong between now and the end of the season when you need him next year?
Yeah, I just think it's interesting, and I laugh because this is being spun in a way even from the organization where we are in St. Louis, Missouri. This is baseball town, USA. This is the best fans in baseball. I know we joke about that, but it's also true. This is baseball heaven. This is 11 World Series championships. This is the model franchise, one of them in the National League going back 100 years. And now I feel like we're like, hey, well, we allow Jon Lester to throw 100 pitches. We allow JA Happ to throw 100 pitches. And you, hey, big boy, you go out there and you eat up 4 2/3.
It's like, hey, you're at 88. Can you give us one more inning? Can you? I know you're giving up 12, but can you give us one more?
This team is just frustrating. They're frustrating. They're frustrating. They're frustrating. I hope these deals work a little bit, but man, even beforehand, on paper, okay, I understand when John Mozeliak says we want Woodford and Oviedo to develop in the minors. I get that. But you're bringing in Lester and Happ, and you're almost hoping, you're having a blind faith and optimism, like I did yesterday, unfortunately, in my prediction, that just these guys, can they just find it? Seriously, for 2 months, can Jon Lester and JA Happ, with a fresh start, with a new team, with a different ballpark, can they just find their prime from 8-10 years ago just for 2 months? And I feel like we're kind of just hoping and praying. I know I was yesterday.
Splashback chimes in and goes, could time on the shelf be used against Flaherty in an ARB case? I'd want to get back too.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of piling up numbers that are used as conversation in that arbitration case. Yeah, it's
like he wants to get back quicker than he should.
Yeah, because there were times, it was discussed last year, and he talked about it, I believe, in the offseason, if I remember right. There were times that he was held back in a couple starts last year. He's like, well, that's going to be used against me. It was being cautious from the Cardinals side. It's like, we're going to give him another day. We want to give him another shot through the rotation, give him more rest. But eventually, when you start your conversation and negotiations, instead of, 8 starts, you had 5 that season. And that'll be used against you, when the reality was, I was ready to go. You guys are just being cautious. That's a give and take that will take place between the player and the ownership group all the time.
I will say, this is just my opinion, I don't think that's the reason the Cardinals are doing this. I think they're being overly cautious from a medical standpoint. And go back to Alex Reyes a couple years back. Remember the outing where he's there, he starts his season in Milwaukee. I was there to cover that game. And he starts to feel a little twinge, and they left him out there. They left him out there to have to further get hurt. And when you have weather, and I know it's different between you have obliques and you have different lat issues, but with Jack Flaherty in this particular season, whereas we just mentioned they're 10 games out in the division and 7.5, you're probably not going to make the playoffs. This is your absolute stud ace. Now, I don't know if they're going to sign Jack Flaherty long term. He seems like the kind of guy to me that's going to go to the market, and he's going to get probably a lot of money, and he's an LA guy. So I don't know if he'll be in St. Louis past his 7th year of control in the big leagues. But still, if I'm the Cardinals, I don't risk anything with Jack Flaherty. And if that means one extra rehab start, I'm actually going to give the Cardinals the benefit of the doubt here because they're not one game out.
Yeah.
They're 7.5 out in the wild card.
I'm there with you. I don't have a problem with it. I'd like to see him pitch again. But the reality is one more start with him, I don't think is going to make the difference of the making up the 7.5 games.
Hey, how about the Cardinals belt, fellas? Okay, this upcoming weekend, we're talking 6th, 7th, and 8th. The Interstate I-70 series, the old battle with the Royals coming up here. All right, on Friday, Cam, 30,000 fans, ages 16 and older, will take home a stadium-exclusive Cardinals belt. For tickets or details, visit cardinals.com/promotions. Cam Janssen, anything on your end? Anything on the old text line?
Two Pump chimes in and goes, I agree with Chuck. Overly cautious with Jack because damaged goods is not appealing to any organization for a trade.
He ain't getting traded.
No.
The only way I'd say that is if in the final year where the Cardinals have not gotten a long-term deal with him done, and then that final season, if the Cardinals aren't very good, that's the only way I could see Jack Flaherty ever being dealt. But that's a conversation for a couple years from now.
Yep, I'm on board with that one.
Want to tell folks about?
Go ahead. It'll be a Happ HAPP list start from Splashback. See, you're the only positive person on anything, Charlie Marlow. And I kind of like that. It's very appealing, but. You were too positive last night, and Jimmy had to put you in your place. That's what it is.
Okay, well, hey.
It wasn't even just me. Jimmy put you down last night,
hey,
dude.
I say we do it again. For Happ. End of the show. We'll have our predictions.
Sounds fair.
For JA Happ.